Hi, my name's Mark, and today I will be continuing my custom Mando build series. Today's video will be slightly different than the rest, because I didn't really capture that much footage of this build process, but I wanted to sort of explain why I chose to do what I did. When you're designing a custom character like this, a lot of decisions need to be made. First, if you're doing a Mandalorian like I am, you need to decide what era the Mandalorian's in. There are many different options, but some of the more common ones are post-Imperial and modern. Modern Mandalorians have armor that's very similar to Boba Fett's, where it's split into different pieces in the torso, with very minimal shoulder, knee, and thigh armor. The post-Imperial armor is much thicker and heavier, like Boba Fett's, or like Din Djarin's and Bo-Katan's from The Mandalorian. As you can see, the character I've chosen has this same post-Imperial style of armor. The next decision you need to make is what color scheme you're going to use. This can be any colors that you think would be appealing together, colors that have a specific meaning in Mandalorian culture, or just something that you have lying around. Whatever you have is great. As you can see, I've gone with this very bright blue color for all of my armor. The next decision you need to make is how you're going to weather every piece. The weathering is where the real storytelling comes in, because it's very easy to add a little bit of brown paint here, and it gives the indication that you've been to a muddy area, or a blaster burn here shows that you've been in a battle. So once you have sort of a game plan of how you're going to weather all of your pieces, then it's often a good idea to stick with this throughout all of your pieces. And that can really make things look cohesive. So for instance, I've added small splatter marks to the front of all of my armor, done with a sand-colored paint. But I've left that same splatter technique off the back of all the armor. So it looks like at some point a big splash of mud came up and caught the front of my armor. But the story will tell that it didn't hit the back. This never actually happened. This is a story that happened in my head, but you can sort of get the picture of storytelling through your decisions when weathering. Groups like the Mandalorian mercs require you to use the same method of weathering throughout the entire process so that all of your pieces look cohesive. The style I used involves a lot of paint chipping, where you apply liquid latex down and then peel the paint up. Now that I've walked you through all the decisions that I made for all of these pieces of armor, I decided I wanted to change all of that up with my vambraces. These are Boba Fett style vambraces, which are modern Mandalorian vambraces. I have weathered them a completely different way, and even used a slightly different metallic paint to show that they were forged differently than the armor I have over here. None of this is actually true. This is plastic. It's all the same plastic from the same 3D printer, but I wanted to tell a story. So these are an older generation of Mandalorian armor. And here's the other one right here. I'll get some glamour shots for the end. But since these are an older generation of Mandalorian armor, they needed to tell a completely different story than the rest of my armor. What that means is I weathered them and painted them completely different colors, completely different style, completely different weathering techniques. This shows that they're of a different age, have a different backstory, and were painted and crafted by somebody else. Even though I crafted them and painted them, I just wanted to tell the story that this character's armor came from a different, maybe it was passed down from a father, maybe it was a friend who died in battle, and any story you want to tell, this is a great way to do it. Here's a little close-up of them. So the main technique I used from these was I sprayed the paint on wet and peeled it up as I went. Which conversely, this is allowed to dry, then peeled up, revealing the layers below it. This means very specific areas get dirty, and this way is much more random and shows much more age and damage. I love the effect that came out when I did this. And here's a little short video on how I took these from 3D prints to then the first layer of weathering. I wasn't able to capture a lot of the footage of this just due to my paint area being very dark right now, but I wanted to explain the sort of thought process and how they look together. So I'm going to show how I made these. The end of the video will have some glamour footage of these, and I may even suit up to show it all together. We'll see. So, hope you enjoy the build.